Christianic CYInterview covering Las Vegas and the world. Music lost one of its greats today. Co-founder of the 1960s, 1970s popular group The Fifth Dimension, LaMonte McLemore has died. He was 90 years old. Aside from being a singer, he was also an accomplished photographer. Of course, The Fifth Dimension, Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In, Up, Up and Away, among many of their other popular songs. LaMonte was a co-founder for the group, obviously. But aside from that, he was a kind soul and a Las Vegas resident. We had a chance to CYInterview LaMonte on 3 different occasions in 2017. In February of 2017, April of 2017, and the last CYInterview was at his home here in Las Vegas in September of 2017. Aside from the music and aside from being a great singer, he was also an accomplished photographer again. He worked with People magazine, Jet magazine, and used to photograph the iconic Beauty of the Week. Aside from photography and music, he was also a big baseball fan, a St. Louis Cardinals fan, to be exact. But overall, LaMonte, just an everyday kind of guy. Nice man, nice human being, kind soul, appreciative. Always enjoyed spending time with him, speaking with him. We last saw LaMonte in 2019 when his fellow Fifth Dimension group mates, Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr., gave a concert at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. LaMonte is survived by his wife, Mayoko McLemore, daughter Sierra, adopted son Darren, sister Joan, and 3 grandchildren. We're now going to bring you 1 hour of CYInterviews with LaMonte, those 3 CYInterviews in a row, from February, April, and September of 2017. They all took place in the same year. Here's 1 hour with LaMonte to learn how great this singer was and music talent. Rest in peace, LaMonte. We thank you so much for all of the time you gave us over the years.
You're on CYInterview.
I'm Chris Shandek. Tonight on CYInterview, we have the great honor of welcoming a baseball player, a photographer, and you know him most from the Fifth Dimension as a Grammy Award-winning musician, LaMonte McLemore. His book, From Hobo Flats to the Fifth Dimension, A Life Fulfilled in Baseball, Photography, and Music. We're here to talk about his story tonight, one of the great music legends from the 1960s and beyond. LaMonte, thank you so much for being with us tonight on CYInterview. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much, sir. I'm all right.
Well, I want to begin with saying this. You know, of course we know you most from the Fifth Dimension, and we can obviously think of Up, Up, and Away, and we can think of many other great songs that you guys did, and all the Grammys and all the things that you have contributed to the music business. Aside from that, of course, you were an early part of what I'd like to call African-American media for celebrities in Hollywood, of course, as well. Your work, of course, with Jet, you know, Ebony, Playboy, and beyond, of course, all of those interesting things. And, of course, you know, being in the minor leagues with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So here's what I'm going to open up and say to you. I believe the story is that your grandmother said that you have to have 3 things. You can't just pick one, because if one fails, you want to have something else to look forward to. So you chose baseball, photography, and of course music was a distant third. So tell me how that moment in your life shaped you being all of these things and not just one thing.
You know, that moment really shaped my whole life, because all I ever wanted to be was really a baseball player, because that was the only way I could think to get out of the ghetto where we're living. I mean, we had an outdoor toilet and a number 3 tub hanging on the back porch and all. So I had saved up all my little money to buy this Marty Marion shortstop glove, baseball glove, and he was a St. Louis Cardinal shortstop. And when I finally got the glove, the next morning it was a monsoon outside, and I went and still knocked on all my friends' door. I didn't care about the rain. I just wanted to play ball, show off my glove. And so all my friends thought I was crazy, and they said, no, the monsoon, we can't play no ball. So I went home, and my grandmother saw my face. She said, well, look at that face. What's the matter? I said, nobody come out and play ball with me. She said, it's a monsoon outside. No wonder. She said, and I said, I'm so bored. She said, bored? Let me tell you something about boredom. Boredom will always lead back to you. So if you're bored, that means you are a boring person. So she said, if you want to stop being bored, pick 3 things in your life. You can't play ball today, so, okay, what would be the second thing you would like to do? I said, well, photography. Well, you can always do photography if it's raining and get a backup, you know, because you put 100% in baseball, you'll be, you know, it'll be successful, and 50% in photography, and just pick something third that you'd be interested in doing. So I said, well, I don't know about the third thing yet. So she said, well, think about it. So I forgot all about the third thing. And one day I came home and she said, boy, out of nowhere, what's that third thing you're interested in? Uh-oh. I said, singing. And I was lying because I hated singing almost with a passion. But I had just come off the sidewalk when all the guys were standing on the street light. And they were singing. I said, LaMonte, come on, we need a bass. I said, I don't want to sing. All you got to do is sing bop, 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 bop. I said, and the girls were there talking, come on, LaMonte. So I got interested. And the girls were all just cheering. And I said, man, this may be something. So when I got home, I told my grandmother, oh, the third thing will be singing. So she said, okay. So it's funny because baseball was very successful. I was signed with the Dodgers, and I broke my arm. I couldn't do that, so I'm glad I picked the second thing, which was photography. And I was a photographer for a jet for 50 years. And then I just started singing on a humbug, and that turned out to be the most successful. So they flip-flopped. So that's how that happened.
But really what it comes down to, I want to say this, LaMonte, to you is the following, and this is what I think a lot of people in today's day don't understand. And I'm sure you look at the world today, and I'm sure there's things where you just shake your head because of all the things that you did in your life. But what it really comes down to is that it's like, yeah, there was the music. Yeah, there was the baseball. Yeah, there was the photography. There were all those things going on, but it wasn't like you were just like other people think, oh, I go to work 9 to 5, I come home, and I do nothing the rest of my day. You were doing something in the morning, then you were doing something in the afternoon, and then you were doing something in the evening, and you were finding way. Like, I feel like when you read this book, it'll make people feel like I can really do more with my time.
Hey, that's true. You know, the title of the book actually could have been, If I Could Do It, Anybody Can. And thanks to Robert Arnold, man. He did such a great job. I don't know anybody else that could have done such a good job. I mean, he brought every aspect to the front. And man, I just want to thank him first and foremost. And the rest is history, man. The book is doing very good. And it's not just the autobiography, which I'm glad. It's inspirational. And that's what I think people would get the most out of. So if they can enjoy the story too, great. But as long as it's inspirational, I'm happy.
Yeah, I know, and there's no denying that. So, looking forward, I want to say this to you. It's like, we'll talk about a few of these a little bit later, but, I could mention any major name from that golden era of show business, and you had either probably worked with them when you were doing your photography, or you probably had worked with them when you were doing music. Obviously the Fifth Dimension opened for Frank Sinatra, for example. What was that like?
Actually, that was kind of phenomenal. I mean, one of my greatest memories is when Sinatra came up to me and asked me for an autograph. My mouth hung down. He for his kids or somebody. And I said, well, sure. I could not believe that. I've never forgotten that. But he loved the Fifth Dimension. And we were the only group that he ever took on the road, London, Holland, Spain. We did 2 of his retirement parties, and we were just great fans.
The question I have for you is, focusing on somebody else, you talk early in the book about Ray Charles, and I just wonder, how much did he influence what you would do later musically?
Well, with all the handicaps that he had and be as successful, man, he was quite an inspiration. And somebody knew him and told him about the jazz group that we had. And so he said, yeah, he would like to see us because he was looking for somebody to open for him. So he came to our house and he said, y'all got to gas me now because I've been hearing a lot about you and all. So, and we sang and said, yeah, this will work. So we ended up opening for him for a couple of years. So, and we remained friends. In fact, my brother's son was his he was the godfather to him. That's how close we were.
Moving forward in all of those kinds of things, when you look back on it and you were able to witness, a young Supremes, Diana Ross, Mary Wilson, of course, one of your next-door neighbors who I've spoken with, we talked about before this interview. You know, what was it like to see all of these great acts as you were doing, you know, whether you were doing your photography or whether you were doing your music? What was it like to witness these people before they became like these really, really, really gigantic stars?
Well, man, I was really very lucky to have an insight because I was a photographer for Motown, and when you mentioned the Supremes, they came to California because that's when Motown moved to California, and ironically, our manager, the Fifth Dimension, was the head of Motown then, and he knew I was a photographer, so he asked me to do it. And one of my first jobs was Stevie Wonder's. I did his first album cover, and then the Supremes came to town, and they weren't even known then. They said, well, take them around and show a day in the life of the Supremes. So I took them shopping to the park and in the swings and everything, man. And so I really got to know them very well. So, and through the three venues, baseball and singing and photography, I mean, I think I met everybody across the board. My wife said, is there anybody you don't know? So, I mean, from Joe Namath, the football player, he used to come to my house, you know, and I mean, everybody. So I've been very lucky to meet all these people and still remain friends. Whenever they come to Las Vegas, they call me, I go to their shows and all. So, and I miss it a little bit, but when they say they're getting ready to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning and catch a flight going somewhere, I don't miss it no more. So I'm all right.
Yeah, I know, of course, Florence Ballard, I forgot to mention, of course, Florence, Diana, of course, Mary, the three, the greatest of all time as far as a music women duo group, in my opinion. You know, obviously their 12 #1 hits you very well know about. You know, I have to say, you know, of all of your songs, you know, of course people think right away immediately about Up, Up, and Away, and someone told you that they were about to, unfortunately, commit suicide, but they heard the song on the radio, and they chose not to because it brought such great memories to them. I wonder, is Up, Up, and Away the moment for you? Is there another song that you like more? What do you prefer? I know that you're going to say you probably have sentimental feelings about many of your great songs, but is there something that just like, no matter every day of your life, you think about, man, I can't believe that'll never happen again?
Yeah, our song was one of the biggest, Aquarius was one of the biggest songs in Vietnam, and a lot of the soldiers come back and say that song helped me through the war. So, and the suicide story about the guy getting ready to jump off a ledge in New York, and the police were trying to pull him in, so no, I just want to give it up. And Up, Up, and Away happened to come on in the hotel room, or his room, wherever it was, and he said he leaned in to listen to it. That was my favorite song, and they pulled him in. He came to the show and said, hey, that song saved my life. So, man, stories like that just make it all worthwhile.
I completely understand that. So let's talk a little bit about your baseball career. And I wonder what you think would have happened had you not fallen out of that car.
Well, I was determined to be successful, so I don't know, man, and that hurt me probably. That was my biggest downfall in my life, was when I was laying on the ground with my arm broke, and I just could not believe it. I fell out of a car celebrating the night I got my contract. And then when it got well, I tried to pitch, but my arm wasn't strong enough for major league pitching, so I switched to first base, and then when I started Fifth Dimension, when I wasn't pitching, man, when the game was over, I'd run home, even in my uniform, do rehearsals and all. So it was just all a part of my life, man, and trials and tribulations. And some worked, some didn't. And the fact that singing, which I chose last, turned out to be first, I mean, it's kind of phenomenal. You never know. But
the Dodgers still gave you a contract. You went to one of their other minor league things, and then you took that money and you bought a very nice camera so you could do your photography.
No, actually, I took the money from getting out of the Navy. And I was in the U.S. Navy.
Okay, I gotcha.
I was in the Navy, and I was playing special services baseball.
Okay, thank you.
Where the Dodgers saw me. You know, so
yeah.
That's where that happened.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much for that. Thanks for clearing that up. You know, so moving forward, you know, I have to say, you know, I think that, you know, I don't like to give away anything because the book has got so much inspiration in it, but, you know, your grandmother said to you those things about having the three things, which we've talked about tonight, but she also talked to you about having a life of purpose. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, she said, try not to be just a statistic. Do something for mankind if you can, you know. So that's what I've been trying to do, man. I wrote a song called Ceasefire, man, which I hope the whole world will get a chance to see. So you've heard of the Million Man's March and the Million Woman's March. Well, with this song, when you see it, it gave me inspiration to, I'm going to try, and I'm working on it right now, for a billion people's peace march all over the world. And so I want everybody to see this song and they'll understand the photos from the songs I wrote, Ceasefire. And people are calling here crying, saying, man, it's so inspirational. Do not give this up. So that's where I am right now.
The question I ask for you, you know, is that growing up in the 60s was, I don't know if the word is tumultuous. That's what I would say looking back at history. I was not alive during the 60s, but that's what I see from an outsider as a younger person. You know, obviously we have the assassination of John F. Kennedy. We have the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. We have the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. You know, there were some very tragic times, and of course, obviously, the battles of civil rights, of course, no denying that. What was it like to be somebody with a voice going through that very challenging time in America's history, surviving it today, getting to talk about it today, seeing the progress that has been made, and still seeing that there is much progress that still has to be made?
Well, you know, I'm very, very blessed, man, to have been in that position, but I'm even more blessed to have a grandmother, a mother that is turning 103 years old in June, coming up to her 103rd birthday. And the story she used to tell, oh, man, is about my grandmother. And I started getting teary-eyed thinking about all the trials and tribulations that she went through. And me too, I saw part of it. I mean, I was around for a long time, and black toilets and white toilets and black water and white water. One time I was in the park in Tennessee where you could see 7 or 9 states, I forgot. And they had these 2 fountains, one for black water and colored water. And so I got in, white water and colored water. So I got in the white water line by 3 people. And the guy turned around and said, you know, this is white water. I said, well, I've never drank any colored water. So, and the guy looked at me and ran off. And I said, uh-oh, you're going to get some people. So I had to get my little drink and run down the side of the hill. Scared to death. But, man, it still exists today. We made a lot of progress. And I remember one time later on the airplane when they had the riots, and she was looking at, she was white, and she said, you know what? Black people have come a long ways. Why are they rioting? You know, she said, don't they know that it takes time? I said, yes, ma'am, I know it takes time, but whose time? Why should it just take my time and not part of yours? So she shut up.
You know, I would say to you more than anything else, you know, what you experienced and lived through and what your mother saw and what her mother saw, you know, must have been unbelievable. And congratulations to your mother at 103 years old. You know, she's gotten to witness your whole entire life as a musician. What does she think truly about what you were able to accomplish in your life?
Well, I know you better not ever say nothing wrong about the Fifth Dimension, because she'll shoot you. She loves the group, and hey, man, she's a phenomenal lady, man. She never taught us any prejudices. Just, she said, all I want you to do is do anything you want to do, just stay out of jail. So I tried to do that. I made it to jail a couple of times, but she doesn't know it, but because I was staying with my aunt, and I told her not to ever tell her. So, but she read the book. I guess she's shocked to see that.
Oh, understandable. So let's now I want to talk about your photography and your impact on early African American pop culture media and celebrities. And you really, before Jet, there was your own publication you had with a friend, and you had this idea that, you know, the most prominent African American celebrities in America deserve to be featured. You should go into their homes and take personal pictures with them and do features on them. And then obviously Jet came after that, and you were the photographer for 50 years. The beauty of the week is your thing. And of course, the executives at Jet always thought, like, you know, we need to let other photographers take the photos, but you're the one who was the best. So, you know, what was it like when you look back on your life and now you see all of this African American media today, knowing that you were at the beginning of this, this front to really show the most prominent people within the African American community. What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
You know, I had my own magazine with my friend called Elegant Magazine, and like you said, man, it was the only magazine to this day for men and women. And so we went into homes, and we showed black people had beautiful homes and beautiful cars and everything, and the book was very successful. And that came about because all the girls we had, the models I have, some were really beautiful, from Jane Kennedy on, man. So as I'd send them out on jobs, interviews for, Vogue, Bazaar, and all, and they would come back and they would say, well, we'll call you. And, I said, you know what, something's wrong with this. And I finally talked to somebody. I said, well, all these beautiful girls, man, and you all talking about you can't find no black beautiful girls. I said, I'll send you some. So even Sports Illustrated, man, I had the same story there. I said, my grandmother always taught me, said, if there isn't a media, create one. I said, well, you know what? So a friend of ours, he was the editor, I was the photographer, and we got writers from colleges and all. We put this book together, Elegant Magazine, and it was almost took over Ebony and Jet. I mean, it was so successful, and the reason it folded, ironically, it was making money, because we weren't used to no money. We were on welfare, Social Security, and all of a sudden $1,000 were coming in, and we were dividing it amongst each other, saying, hey, and instead of it going back into the magazine, we buying cars and all. We were so stupid. But, hey, at least we knew it was successful.
But obviously, then you were able to parlay that, and then you went to Jet, and then you became their iconic photographer. So, the question I have for you is that really what it comes down to is the following, and this is I think a very specific question. What makes a great photographer? What makes a great photographer? Because you obviously know, because everybody wanted to work with you, obviously, because that went into Ebony, and then you went into Playboy, and there were other publications, and people just kept calling you. What made you a great photographer, and what makes a great photographer, do you think?
Well, you know what, man, photography is in the eyes of the beholder. You got to just see it and have a feeling for it, man. I used to be going out on Sundays with all my friends riding around, man. They look, all the guys looking for girls on the street, and I'd say, hey, man, stop. Where? Is a girl there? I said, no, look at that doorknob on that church, how the paint is peeling. They said, put this fool out of the car. You talk about some paint on the doorknob, we looking for girls and all, but, man, I don't know. I always had a feeling. I just had a feeling for it. So, I don't know, man. You just have to use your own gut feeling. I don't know why more girls aren't photographers, because they have a sixth sense about things, man. And that's why some of the biggest photographers in the world today are some women. So, one thing, I never try to make somebody look like somebody else. I just try to bring the best out of them, and that seemed to work.
So today, let me mention this to you, because I just would like your honest thoughts and comments on this. As someone who's shot many beautiful women, of course, what do you think about, as in the last, let's just talk 20 years of media, you get to see supermodels on the covers like Tyra Banks, for example, obviously Iman before her, Naomi Campbell, Beyonce, Rihanna, all of these stars, and you see them on these covers now constantly, and you see more beautiful African-American women on the front cover of mainstream magazines. How does that make you feel?
Oh, man, it has arrived. I mean, every time I see one, smiles come almost tears, man, because they finally made it and getting what they really deserve, And another thing is, they used to have all these tall models, and you had to be 5'8" or taller. And finally, I said, you know what? It's beautiful girls come in all sizes and shapes and stuff. So finally, the petite model agency started opening up, and then the big, beautiful woman started opening up. And it's just a person, not, just what you conceive is what everybody likes and what exists.
Do you think that working in the media and being on the other side, when, of course, you were around, the early ages of Motown, again, with the Supremes and Stevie Wonder, for example, do you think when you became a performer and the Fifth Dimension became the thing that everybody knows you for, do you think that really kept you grounded because you were able to see both sides of how this thing all comes together?
with my mother and grandmother, I could never be nothing else but grounded. I mean, they wouldn't accept no, divas and all that stuff, man. You're a person, you put on your pants and you go to the bathroom like everybody else. And my grandmother always said, if you ever look down on somebody, be sure you're trying to help them up. So I never forgot that.
Okay, question for you, because I'm not sure. I want to emphasize I'm not sure, so you can tell me, so I'll learn some new information. What was the last time you performed? Do you still perform, or do you semi-perform? What is your performing situation today?
No, I have major back surgery, and the doctor said, well, hey, you want to stop now and spend time with your family, or you just want to go ahead and try to be successful with the group, which you've already been. You've been there, done that. So, I said, at this age, man, I would really want to spend more time with my daughter and grandkids and my wife and all. So I found out I do nothing well, and the guy I got to replace me, man, he's so good, they probably wouldn't want me back. So anyway, no, I am happy for the group. Merrill and Billy are so successful, and Florence has carried the group on, and they don't rest on their laurels. I mean, they still take singing lessons, dancing lessons, and all of that, and they're both very successful at getting standing ovations and selling out audiences all over the world.
But you're still working on music today, is that correct?
Oh, yeah, I'm writing songs, man. I'm not even a songwriter, but I wake up in the middle of the night, my hand just starts writing, which that's the story behind Ceasefire. My wife said, where are you going in the middle of the night? I said, I don't know. My hand just started writing. And so I got tired and went back to bed, and the voice came to me and said, get up, you ain't through yet. So I came in and finished the song, and man, it's phenomenal. Have you seen the video?
I have not. It is on YouTube, and you can get the song on CD Baby is what it's called. I have not had a chance to take a look at it yet, but I definitely need to. But going forward, I just have to say, we have to talk more about your music. We have to bring you back to talk about your music. But I want to recommend, for the following reasons, and I say this to you as my closing comments to you, got a few things I want to say. Number one, thank you so much for being on CYInterview tonight. But to begin with, what you have shown, I think people in general, is whether you're a fan of this era of music or not, or whether you're a fan of celebrities or not, or whether you're a fan of baseball, photography, or music in general, you should read LaMonte's book for one reason, because it shows you that you can make more of your time. I think there are people out there who think that, I go to work 8 to 5 o'clock in the morning, or 9 to 5 at night, or 10 to 6, or whatever it might be. They work 8 hours. They say, man, I don't have any time to do the things I want to do, really want to do. It's nonsense. You were doing all of these things at the same time. You never stopped working. You never stopped doing anything, and you were always looking for something to be excited about. And I think that we've really lost that message in America, with the Internet and with all these things and all these distractions. You've obviously seen the world. I mean, you remember a world, LaMonte, where we had television, a few channels, radio, and a newspaper and some magazines, and that's all we had. And now we have, cell phones and all these extra additional things. And I'm sure, what do you think about how much the world has changed in the last 50 years in the media technology? I mean, obviously, as a performer and as a photographer, you have lived it. I'm sure you can't believe where we are right now.
Right. You heard around the world in 80 days. I've been around the world in 80 years. I've been all around the world and all. There's no place better than the United States. All of them have something to offer, but I tell you what, when you go to these places, you find out how much you really respect America and what it stands for. And I get off the plane and kiss the ground every time I get back home. And I'm proud to have seen all these places. They all have something to offer, but nothing like this place, man. So, and I'm going to tell you something about that. I told you how poor we were in the outdoor toilets and all that, and we didn't have no chance to go. My father ran off when I was 6 years old, left a note saying I can't hang with my mother and grandmother and 4 siblings. And one day I had this this world travel magazine that I found, and I showed it to my grandmother. I said, look at all these pictures of Egypt and Paris and all that. Man, I sure wish I could go to these places, but I know I'd never get a chance. She said, what? She's always optimistic. She said, stand up. So I stood up. She said, now take a step. So I took a step. I said, yeah, now what? She said, now you're one step closer. So I never stopped stepping.
You never have, and there's no denying that. So I say to you, thank you for your inspiration. The fifth dimension from the flats to the fifth dimension, a life fulfilled in baseball, photography, and music. LaMonte McLemore, thank you so much for being with us on CY Interview. In a closing statement tonight, what would you like to say to all of your fans? Whether they like your music, whether they like your photography, whether they liked your baseball, if they saw any of that even, what would you like to say to all of your fans tonight?
Well, what I just said, never stop stepping. Whatever your goals are, man, it can be reached. But another thing, for one time, I got this to say.
Sure.
I woke up and I said, Grandmother, I went to bed last night, but I can't sleep. I tried counting sheep and all that don't work. She said, you know what? Why don't you try counting your blessing? So I think that's what we all should do. We're not in Syria, Afghanistan, somewhere. We're here regardless of what the situation is. We're better off than all of those people. So use that to your advantage. Quit looking back and look forward.
Oh, no denying that. LaMonte McLemore, thank you so much for being with us here tonight on CY Interview, and please hang on with me.
Hey, man, hey, I tell you what, you'll be done thousands of interviews, and I think you're one of the best, so keep up the good work.
You're on CY Interview.
I'm Chris Yandek. Recently on CY Interview, we had the great chance to speak with a musician, a baseball player, and a photographer. We welcome that man back. He is a 6-time Grammy winner. LaMonte McLemore, thanks so much for joining us again today on CY Interview. How are you?
Okay, sir. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, we're always great to speak with you, Lamont. So before we get into everything today and talk about some of the great hits from the Fifth Dimension, baseball season is here. Being a baseball player, does the new baseball season mean anything to you?
Oh, yes, man. I'm a Cardinal fan, and my neighbor's a Chicago Cubs fan, so we always at odds, and they played the first 3 games together. So St. Louis won the first game, and I was teasing them, and then the Cubs came back and kicked the Cardinals' butt, so we're about even.
That sounds about right. So, focusing in this conversation, I want to get into some of the hits from the Fifth Dimension, and then again at the end of the conversation, we're going to talk about your latest project and get more into Ceasefire. But to begin with, the Fifth Dimension had many great hits, obviously, and it all started back with Go Where You Want to Go. What did it mean to get on the charts with that first song?
It meant a whole lot, man, even though we didn't understand what we were doing because it wasn't rock and roll and R&B like black people's music basically then, and we had Johnny Rivers and them directing us, and they brought the song, The Mamas and Papas, to us, and in fact, the Mamas and Papas came and helped us record it. So it was all right, but we didn't really understand it, but hey, we were happy that it was going up the charts.
And so what did it mean to you then when you heard your first song on the radio?
Oh, man, it meant the whole world to we almost had a car accident. I was in my car, man. I had to pull over. I couldn't believe it, man. So everybody was so happy, and we were looking for the next. We didn't want to be a one-hit wonder, so we kept hoping the next song would be just as strong, and it was. So Up and Away. So
yeah, well,
we were very happy.
Well, speaking about Up and Away, of course we talked about in the first conversation, you mentioned in your great book how there was somebody who was thinking about ending their life, but when they heard the song Up and Away, they chose not to. So aside from that, what did Up and Away really mean to you and the group after, the first one was good, then this one was better, obviously. What did that song mean to you?
Oh, man, I think we were on our way, at least we weren't a one-hit wonder, so we just hoped that it continued, and it did, so we were very, very happy, and the story that you were talking about, the young man that saved his life because he heard Up and Away, he was despondent, he lost his house and his wife and his job and all, and he was standing on a ledge in New York, getting ready to jump off, and the police were trying to pull him in, and he said, no, this is it. So, and then all of a sudden, Up and Away came on in the hotel room, and he went back to listen to it, and they pulled him in. He said, because of that song, I loved it, and I just wanted to hear it before I jumped and saved my life. So that meant so much to the group, man. So we hope it continues and helps other people's lives.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, the book is From Hobo Flats to the Fifth Dimension, a life fulfilled in baseball, photography, and music. That story and many others, of course, are in your great book. So then we get to, of course, Medley Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In, of course, a #1 hit. What does that mean to you?
Oh, admit it. Every song meant a lot to us, man. Every song was very important, and it wasn't just a song we would do. We put a lot of effort in every song, and wanted it all to mean something and be a hit. So, and it was phenomenal. And well, you know the story behind Aquarius, right?
Yeah, sure. Why don't you tell a little bit about it for our listeners who haven't heard it?
Okay. Well, we were performing in New York at the Americana, and the guy called Billy and said, "Hey, I found your wallet." He lost his wallet in a cab, and the guy found it and called him and said, "Hey, man, I found your wallet." And Billy said, "Oh, man, thank you." He said, "It's my credit card and stuff in it." He said, "Man, your money, everything is in it." He said, "In New York, somebody found your wallet and returned it." And also, Billy invited him to our show at the Americana. So when he came to the show, afterwards, he said, "Man, I have a little show off Broadway I'd like to invite you guys to." So we said, "Hey, yeah, sure." And the little show was Aquarius. So it was off Broadway. And we saw it, and said, "Man, we got to do this song. We loved it, you know." So he said, "Yeah, anything you want." So we did the song. It was a hit. And because it was a hit, it took made us and helped his show come off Broadway onto Broadway. So it proved that the little $200 that he returned to Billy turned him into $200 million. So I guess honesty really pays.
So, the reality is, speaking about, Medley Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In, being part of that Broadway show, Hair, what did it mean then to have your music then go to Broadway?
Oh, man, it meant everything. I mean, everything. Our song was #1, and the show was #1 hit, so it really helped each other.
Well, speaking about that, then going forward, one of the songs that I feel like that isn't talked about as much, but was also a #1 hit, was Wedding Bell Blues. Any interesting stories about doing that song?
Bones Howard brought the song to us, and he told Merle and said, "I would love for you to do it." Billy said, "Wedding Bell Blues, Won't You Marry Me?" He said, "Nah, I don't know about that song," but she did it anyway, just in honor of Billy. So, and it turned out to be a big hit.
Absolutely. And then one more that I'd love to ask you about before we get into some other things today. Last night, I didn't get to sleep at all. Any stories about that song?
Not that I can remember, except that it did very well on the charts, so we were happy about that too.
Okay, well, here's what I'd like to talk with you about before we get into some of your music today and a few other topics, because we love your stories, LaMonte. I'd like to talk with you about each of your group members, and maybe you have something you'd like to say about each of them from the beginning. I'd love to start with Billy Davis, Jr.
Billy Davis and I, we were drum and bugle corps mates. We were both in the drum and bugle corps in St. Louis and all that, and I really liked his sister, and he liked my sister, but we were both in 2 different gangs, and we couldn't go into different neighborhoods to even see him, so we just laugh about that to this day. But Billy back then, man, he was quite a character. Just got out of the Army and was doing little rock and roll shows around, so I asked him, hey, well, he was going to come to California. I said, well, come on, I work for Motown now, and I try to get you, some interviews there. So that's about it for Billy.
Ronald Townsend.
Ron Townsend and I went to high school together. He was a little older than me. He graduated before me, but he was in the choir, and I was in the band with Dick Gregory, of all people. Dick Gregory and Ron graduated together, but Ron sang opera. And Danny Boy, he always sang Danny Boy in all the concerts at the school, and we used to call him Danny Boy. But he won #2 in the Metropolitan Opera Contest. But he could sing opera, and we did it in the show also.
Marilyn McCoo.
Marilyn McCoo was one of my models. We used to hang out and I was covering a beauty pageant that Marilyn was in, the Miss Black America or something, and she won the talent part that year. And ironically, I covered Florence too. Florence was in the same beauty pageant this following year, and she won the talent part. So I asked her would she like to join the group with Ron and Billy and they said, well, we're not really interested in being in a group. We don't want to be individuals. I said, well, I work for Motown, and when they have auditions and all, I'll tell you guys, you get in there first, But meanwhile, we're all friends and just sang some harmonies and stuff. They said, hey, that's great. We'll try that. So, and then Florence said, well, why, if this is just a hobby, how come you buying uniforms? So I said, well, a club down the street, they want us to come in and do a couple of numbers. They said, hey, that'll be fun. So I bought some red sweaters and turtlenecks, and we went in and did the show, 2 or 3 numbers. And ironically, Agent was in the audience, and he said, man, I'd like to talk to you guys. And he loved us and signed us, and we never looked back.
Of course, you were talking about the last member, Florence Rulu. So what I'd love to say to you, Lamont, is looking at music today, we don't see a lot of music groups anymore where there are men and women together. Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. Manhattan Transfer and who else? Gladys Knight and the Pips were Gladys Knight and the Pips were guys. But I don't really know.
Yeah, because it just seems like it's an interesting combination because there were you 2 guys and there were 2 gals, and you guys put all of these different hits together, and you came up with a lot of original material, obviously, and having men and women together, obviously, will lead to different kind of lyrics and songs and kind of emotions. So I just don't understand why that isn't in music today, because obviously that formula led you guys to 6 Grammys and some #1 hits and some success. So it just seemed like it was an interesting combination and showed that men and women could work together in a group and perform together, not just some guy or not just some woman who had backup singers, whether they were men or women, if you get my drift.
No, hey, you really hit on something there, but I'll tell you this, but people used to say, oh, you guys, you get all these girls there because they're groupies and following the group. The Fifth Dimension never had really groupies because guys and girls in the group, girls wouldn't come up and hit on the guys because they thought maybe the girls in the group were hitting on them, so it might cause a conflict and vice versa, So that's one reason, I guess, and too bad, too, because we didn't have the groupies that Temptation and the Beatles and all of them had, so the girls were kind of scared to confront us.
So basically what it really came down to is that there were women on stage, so the women in the crowd thought you guys were, with the women in the group, so they're like, oh, they've already marked that territory, so we have no chance.
Right. So somebody got to be hitting on somebody, It ended up Marilyn and Billy got married. And
yeah, of course.
Married our manager and also.
Yeah.
And Ron was already married. I was the only one that was still single, man. So, and everybody was looking at me kind of strange, but hey, man, I was happy. Said, don't you like girls? I said, sure. He said, what kind of girls do you like? I said, 2 kinds. He said, what 2 kinds? I said, foreign and domestic. So cover the gamut.
Well, the reality of what it comes down to is that you shot more beautiful women than most men will ever get to meet or see in a lifetime. So I think that you were covered there too. Yeah,
that's probably true too. When I was shooting for Jet magazine for 50 years, doing the centerfolds and all, and I met everybody, man. And because I knew all the girls, I didn't have no problem with all the guys coming up making friends. So, including, everybody. So, right.
Let's talk about some real life wisdom before we get on to talking about ceasefire, and I want to talk about a few other things with you today. So, what do you say to What do you say to the average guy in society today? He might be in his 20s, he might be in his 30s, and for whatever reason, he's intimidated by beautiful women, or he feels like that beautiful women are not just like every other woman. You've been around beautiful women your entire life, and you know that these women are just like every other woman. They're either being asked out or they're not being asked out. What's some advice that you can give to the young fellas?
That's a question that hasn't been asked to me in a long time. Man, just, you know what? Get yourself together. That's all you have to do. Don't worry about nobody else or the women and all. Once you get yourself together, your education and your look and your health and everything, man, so, and then it take care of itself. You know, I never went looking for nobody. I mean, I was really too busy with the group and playing ball and all of that, but I never went to discos and all of it. And man, things just happened, you know, because I guess the women say, well, hey, he's working and trying to get himself together, and that's somebody I'm interested in. So get yourself together. That's all I got to say.
So basically the advice to men is that if you have your life together, then you'll have opportunities to be with women, meet women, and date women, and marry women.
Hey, thank you. What are women looking for? Somebody that got their stuff together just like you. You're looking for a woman that's got her stuff together, so it makes sense.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about Ceasefire since we last talked to you the first time. Anything new you'd like to share about Ceasefire? Of course, you can buy the song on CD Baby. You can see the song on YouTube. Anything you'd like to mention about Ceasefire?
Well, Ceasefire actually is so important today. I mean, ceasefire, think about it. Only 2 words can solve half of the problems in the world, man. I mean, crime in the streets and war and the refugee problems. And everybody is saying about the refugees, well, there's no end to that. I mean, what are we going to do about the refugees? I said, man, it's all so simple. 2 words. All you have to do is cease fire, quit bombing their homes, and they'll go back home.
Yeah. And what I'd like to say to you is that a lot of people might not know, and we've talked about this, you're still playing softball today. Tell me about your softball groups that you get together in Las Vegas, the games you play, how often you play. Tell a little bit people about that it's never too late to play sports or be involved in sports or be active.
You're not kidding, man, because when I came out here, I got all the entertainers. We all used to play ball, over the years. And I said, well, how would you guys like to start a softball team and we can play different teams and we raise money for charity? And we did. We got the team together. In the first game, we raised money from all the fans for Haiti. And I had Bubba Knight and friends of the station. I mean, everybody, the Platters, all of them used to play, had a black team. And we played these guys, man, that everybody loved it. They come to the games. Gladys Knight was one of the cheerleaders. Mary Wilson, the Supreme, she was one of the cheerleaders. And the fact that it was 50 and over. And it was such an inspiration for everybody, man. There's one guy there for 82 years old would throw your butt out from center field on a fly. So it was just a lot of inspiration. So people ask me, well, how long do you think you'll play? I play 100 games a year. I said, hey, man, I'm going to play past that guy that's 82 just to make a point. So we have such a good time. We have parties, and we still raise money for charities. So it's been great.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, LaMonte, anything in closing you'd like to add about anything new you're working on besides the Ceasefire project or anything else you'd like to mention to us?
Well, Ceasefire is such an important project right now. I wish everybody could get a chance to see it, but it's getting ready to go viral, man. People call here crying that's seen the pictures that I put to the song. So, and we're trying to get it to the United Nations and even Donald Trump now. So, hey, man, just keep our fingers crossed and with people like you helping. So, thank you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, in closing, I want to speak about this because we talked about many of your music hits today, and you won a bunch of Grammys. Did any of your Grammys mean more than any of the others that you won?
No, it just made us greedy because we wanted one more. Just one more. What do you want? I could use one more Grammy.
So basically the reality was that after you won one, you wanted to win another.
Oh, yeah, man, you didn't want it to stop. And it was great every time we win one. And the Fifth Dimension is one of the only black groups that have 2 songs of the year, Up and Away and Aquarius. Mm-hmm. We're very proud about that.
Yeah, so you had 2 #1 hits in the same year. Well, what I think that's amazing looking back at the Fifth Dimension, as I close with you, and we mentioned earlier in the conversation, is you had 3 gentlemen and 2 women, and you guys put a lot of great things together. And, you have these girl groups today, of the last 20 years, like Destiny's Child, and you have male groups like Boys to Men, but it's like, why not put the men and the women back together again? Because it obviously worked very well for you guys.
I think it would be very, very smart. Well, the friends of the station did just that. You know, he was one of my roommates, and we were friends singing in a jazz group together. So when we broke up, I told him he should get together and get some girls in the group, and they got to be very popular too.
The reality
in fact, they're still together.
Yeah, and the reality is of what it comes down to is that fans want to see. I think it adds an extra bit of chemistry to the live performance when you see men and women work together, because everyone starts to wonder, oh, are they dating? Are they not dating? And obviously the women in the crowd thought, oh, she must be dating him, or they must be going, they must be together. So it's like, there's no, how am I going to compete with that? You know, so.
That's true, man. So, oh well, it is what it is.
It is what it is. LaMonte McLemore, thanks so much for joining us again today on CYInterview. Go check out his song Ceasefire on YouTube. Purchase it at CD Baby, and of course, his book is still available for purchase on Amazon. Hang on with me. Thanks so much again for the conversation today.
Hey, okay, man. I hope to meet up with you someday soon, so let us know anytime you come this way.
Yeah, we definitely will. Hang on with me.
You're on CYInterview.
This is Chris Shandik. Today on CYInterview, we're at the home of the great singer, baseball player, photographer, and author, of course, LaMonte McLemore. Thanks, as always, for being on CYInterview. It's good to be at your home today. How are you, kind sir?
Hey, thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
Well, you have a wonderful home here, no doubt about that, and a lot of great antique cameras from all of your great photography, so thank you so much for showing me those today. So I want to first talk about your new song that is coming out actually next weekend, I believe.
Yep, I Wish I Could Fall in Love by Julio Hansen, and he sings all my songs. I've written 3 of them. Ceasefire is one, and it's getting ready to go viral, and I hope one day the listeners will get a chance to see. And we're thinking about 1 billion People's Peace March all over the world from that song, so look for it.
Oh, absolutely. So tell me about your inspiration for your new song that Julio is singing.
Well, I'm not a songwriter. It's funny because all my songs, I wake up in the middle of the night and my hand just starts writing. It's like Ceasefire. Man, my wife said, where you going? I said, I don't know. I'm just writing. My hand just started writing this song. And so I got kind of tired and I went back to bed, and the voice, clear as day, came and said, hey, you're not through yet. Get up and finish this song. It's that important. So that's how I end up. I get an idea and just start writing, and the rest is history.
You're not like other people who have it all planned out. It just comes to you.
Yep, everything just comes to me. Just perseverance, man. Just get up, and I'm not one to rest on my laurels. I can't sit around. No grass grows under my feet.
There is a lot of concern in the world right now. We are in very challenging times, and I think people are obviously very fearful for what the world is. So ceasefire now is more relevant than ever. How do you feel about that? And then secondly, what do you hope that people will take from it that haven't seen it yet, and why should they see it?
Well, the weapons of mass destruction, I was just thinking about that. I think that's the reason it made me start getting ideas for the song. And so I came up with a logo saying there is a weapon of mass destruction, and it's easy to find. Just look in the mirror, because it's us, mankind. And boom, the song starts. So I hope everybody gets a chance to see it. And you can actually download it on CD Baby.
And you can also see it on YouTube as well. Interesting enough. So ceasefire is there, of course, at the bottom of this article. You'll have a link to see that, as always, if you're listening to it, of course, here. So I want to say congratulations, and early congratulations in advance, because at the end of October at the Suncoast for the Dream Awards, you are getting that Lifetime Achievement Award. Before this conversation, you told me you are not someone who is very big on speeches. However, have you thought about your speech yet? What does it mean to you?
Well, it's awfully nice to be inducted anywhere, because I've been usually indicted, so it's a little different. But no, I'll find something to say. I always do.
In my opinion, of course, there should be a special category for musicians who are fans of baseball, and you should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame for that reason alone.
Yeah, I wish.
That would be the greatest honor of all. So, a lot of those performers that are going to be at that event in October, of course, were people who performed in the different showrooms in Las Vegas, of course. So, I've never had a chance to ask you this. Do you have a favorite performing moment in Las Vegas?
Yes, we started here in Las Vegas, and we were at Caesar's Palace, and we were opening next for the Checkmates, who were very, very big and very popular here, and their run was over, and so we were chosen to replace them. And the maitre d' came up and said, well, I hope you all got your S together because you see how good they are and all. So I said, oh, okay. So that particular night that we were opening, Sammy Davis, a good friend of mine, and Lou Rawls, I said, would you come to the show? Oh, yeah. So, and they liked the group, and when they came, we turned that place out that night, got a standing ovation, and that same maitre d' came over and said, oh, my kids. So I'll always remember that.
I never had a chance to ask you, but of course you've seen casinos and resorts come and go. Caesars has obviously reinvented itself, but what do you think of the current model of the Las Vegas Strip, and is there a favorite place that you like going to?
Well, when you live here, you kind of stay off of the strip, but it's still fascinating. When all our friends come, we always go down and show them around. We're tour guides all over again. So, but Vegas, man, there's no place like Vegas. It's always something to do, and you can go to bed anytime you get ready and wake up. You're not, and sleep as long as you want because you're not going to miss nothing. When you wake up, it's going to still be going on.
And you'll probably call me one morning at 6 a.m. and say, let's go for a walk.
I doubt that, but about 6 in the morning, I'm going to the bathroom. Otherwise,
well, I just had to ask. The thing that's great about this town, though, is that if you really wanted to get up and go somewhere at 3 a.m. and you wanted to go eat somewhere, you could.
Yep, anytime, man. You can't. I don't know how anybody could ever be bored here. Because if you wake up, nothing to do, go pull the machine down, go walk down the strip. It's always crowded. Always something to do here, and it's safe.
Oh, it's getting safer. There's no denying that. So let me ask you, you're still doing the photography today. Is there anything that you haven't photographed in your life that you would still like to photograph? Maybe a place you haven't gone or a landmark or something.
Maybe Beyonce. I used to shoot for Jet Magazine 50 years for shooting Beauty Week, right? And so I still do photography mostly now as some models, and I just shot the OJ's album cover, and Merrill and Billy of the Fifth Dimension shot their album cover, so I'm still very active.
Well, I just think that it would be. Have you ever been to India? Like a picture of the Taj Mahal photographed by LaMonte, I think would be something special.
It's funny you should mention that because we did go to Mumbai. In fact, my wife's office is in Mumbai, but we were on that side of India. So in November, we're actually going to India so I can shoot the Taj Mahal.
Well, I look forward to seeing those pictures. I hope you'll share one with me so we can put it up on CYInterview. What a small world that is. I guess I was reading your mind before we were doing this interview.
I can't believe you said that because that's exactly what I'm going to do next.
Well, so here's the thing that I'm going to say to you, of course. So you're still playing softball 2 days a week, is that correct?
Yep, Tuesday and Friday morning, man, with the 50 and 55 and older league. And these guys and girls, 4 girls play. And one lady is like 72 and can play, and a smart baseball player. And these guys can really play. So if you're coming out to play, don't think you're going to run over these guys.
Why should people in that age range play softball? Tell me about the health benefits of playing at that age.
Well, and people that play usually were kids playing it all their lives, man, and they just never got over it, and they come out and they have a great time, and great ball players, and we great friends,
Well, that's truly fantastic. So here's the question I have for you that's most important for this interview. Will the St. Louis Cardinals make the playoffs?
Hey, one guy last year bet on them to make the playoffs, and he bet a whole lot of money. They thought he was crazy, and the last day he won. So, and I think he bet 500,000 or whatever. Anyway, he made a couple of $1 million just because they were like 40-1 to win, and they did. So I wish I'm not that crazy, but I'm pulling for him.
Do you watch the games every week? I'm guessing you do.
I'll be watching as soon as you leave.
There we go. So how about that? So besides obviously Ceasefire, I Wish I Could Fall in Love, taking pictures of the Taj Mahal in a few months. What is something you still want to do that is not a current project?
Well, I don't know what isn't a current project, because right now I'm really concerned about ceasefire and all the problems and stuff in the world, man. So, and just for people to march one day for peace all over the world, billion people's peace march. It's what we're working on now, you know. And people say, well, how do you make any money off of that? I don't care about any money. I just want to save one life, and I'm happy.
Well, I know that's the most important thing. So as always, and of course the last thing that I like to always mention, of course, if you haven't yet, you should read From Hopeful Flats to the Fifth Dimension, A Life Fulfilled in Baseball, Photography, and Music, the longest and greatest title ever written of a book, in my opinion, for a memoir. What I love about your book, I always tell you, LaMonte, is that your story is inspiring because you're doing multiple things at the same time, and people have to realize that the way that one becomes successful is that you do multiple things at the same time.
Thank you, man. And Robert Arnold helped me write the book, man. He did such a great job. And if you go on Amazon.com and punch in my name, and the book will come up. So,
and they can purchase it still, obviously. And it's a great story because you worked with literally everybody. And as I always say, you know, the guy who works with everybody usually has the best stories, and you have the best stories, in my opinion.
Now I work with Chris, so I work with everybody.
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate that. LaMonte, it was so nice. Thank you so much for inviting us over today, and thanks as always for being on CYInterview. It was really nice to speak with you here at your home.
Thank you, and anytime, sir. All right.